It's weird. From a scientific background, my whole beliefs, like I still got the belief of atheism and the belief of physical material. I still trust me, this sounds crazy. Test your beliefs. Test these crazy statements. If you don't test them, if you judge them and say, he's crazy, well, then you're religious. If you do some logic and say he's crazy, well, then you're a philosopher. Great. But if you actually shine light on this thing and you don't get a known image that determines it, then you're a scientist. You would have to put a little crystal behind this slit, okay? And it would convert the photons into an entangled pair of photons. So you get two photons now coming up. And you could then measure the photons coming out and determine which slit the photon went through, okay? And so if you are knowing which slit, then you've determined it. It's knowing that's determining the illusion of content here. So yeah, you can make a two-line image pattern if you are knowing which slit the photon goes through. And they do that. It's scientific. It's scientifically proven. So
how do we not know which slit it goes through in the regular one?
Oh, it's impossible.
How?
Because when you shine light on this, you're going to get, you've got two, okay, so I don't know if you can see this. You've got two slits there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's test this. We'll shine some photons through the two slits. So I'm going to get a pattern, an image pattern of 15 or 17 lines.
Yeah.
Okay. So I could like ray trace back, I ray trace back this okay, so here's my image pattern of like, you know, let's just say it's 5 lines from these two slits. I ray trace back and I can't, the line, it doesn't go to one slit or the other.
That's what I needed, I think.
Yeah, you can't tell which slit it goes through. Like, go out there and look at, there's some really cool computer-generated diagrams of like the rays coming off of these slits. I mean, I'll even send you one. So
Yes.
and then you'll just see like, wait a minute, the lines are tracing back to the center of the two slits. Like you got your two slits here, and the lines are tracing back to like. Huh? How could light even come from like the blank backside of this thing? Yeah, so it's just, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. So that's the, it's so, again, see, you're holding these beliefs as truth, right? People think beliefs are airy-fairy, wishful thinking, like unicorns. No. Beliefs are like you're walking on them. They're so strong that they literally hold up your house, the Empire State Building. You're believing that this is a solid ground here. They're that powerful. They're creating the illusion of all of this. Okay, so the beliefs are more powerful than nuclear bombs. They're holding up everything. So this is the craziness of it. This is the you're holding these beliefs, and they're so powerful that by holding them, you will not accept the actuality of what's occurring in these experiments, which instead of see, in physics, you have beliefs or assumptions, and you're testing them throughout our apparent timeline here, right? And over time, our models get better, right? So the models get more, the predictions from them are more accurate. Okay, so you think you're getting closer and closer to this truth because the predictive capabilities of your models are getting better. But see, science is always testing what's occurring in actuality. So you have to do experiments. Like, you can create all these theories, but the theories actually have to be tested against the experience to see if the theories are valid or not. Okay, and so this is what you have to do. Your theory of perception, your theory of how I mean, nobody leaves their house in the morning that's capable of visual perception and closes their eyes and drives into work with their eyes closed. Nobody does that. Why not? Oh, because visual perception is the images that you're knowing under this theory. You're a human being containing a brain and a mind, and the images are inside your skull. They're not out here. The objects are out here. The image of this hand is in my skull under this theory. So the images in your skull are telling you that there are cars out there that you've got to avoid, otherwise you'll crash into them. So it's telling you that things exist out there and that there's physical material objects out there that you're okay. So everyone walks around believing that light shining on these cars and things are telling them that there are physical objects out there that exist. Okay, well, let's test that. When you test it, you find that that's false. It doesn't work like that. So this is the first thing. If you have to get to this point. If you can't get to that, see, the physicists got to that point. The beliefs are so strong that they're alive, they're humans, that stuff exists outside of consciousness. It's so huge. They took their physics and created this entire bullshit story around it. They went into these crazy theories that are untestable. String theory and everything and all this crazy ass shit. It's like, okay, it's cool, like, explore that mathematics. It's fun, it's cool stuff. You're expanding our vocabulary, our language of mathematics. Great, expand it. Maybe we can use that in describing actuality. Can we use that language of your string theory and all these things in explaining the singular consciousness paradigm? Maybe we can. I don't know. I gotta tweet things. I don't know how we could use it. But you have to understand, is your linguistic structure that you're applying to our physics now, is it describing actuality? Well, there's only one way to find out. It's to try, to test, to experiment, to experience, to know. That's what you got to do. So if you create a linguistic thing that's untestable, then I'm sorry, but it's not science. It's philosophy. So I just said we go back. We went off course here. Let's go back. Let's look at our tests of actuality. And the test of actuality in this double-slit experiment is not ignore the physics of it. Forget about physics. we believe that we're seeing objects from light shining on them, and that the images of these objects tell me that the objects exist. Okay, how would you test that? You figure out how you test that, you come up with a double slit experiment, you shine light on undetermined objects, does not produce known images that determine those objects, it determines that they exist. So, okay, when light is passing through a space-time volume, under this paradigm, light is passing through a space-time volume. And I know light has traversed that space-time volume because I can see the image of the background. So everything between me and that background, there's nothing that exists there because there are no objects, images of objects that were produced. That means I know nothing exists there. Well, that's the image in the double slit experiment. The distributed line interference pattern that you get out of that experiment is not a known image. Thus, the slits don't exist. So I've got known images. What is a known image made of? Knowing that it's not a known image. So not a known image and a known image. They're made out of knowing each other. They're made out of consciousness.
Could you explain the sides again, please?
Yeah, so this experiment tells you that there's only consciousness here. All being is occurring in an infinite dimensionless singularity. There's no way to think about that or model it or anything. How can you model something that's infinite? There's no limit to it. There's no edge, handle, there's no space, time, nothing. There's nothing you could get a hold of. Okay, so we're going to ignore that. There's nothing I can say about it, period. But I want to ignore myself here. I want to play around and come up with a little model about how this all works. So I've got to ignore that infinite dimension. So what am I going to do? Okay, let's take that infinite dimensionless all-knowing and let's stretch it out onto a plane. So this whole thing will be a plane, a two-dimensional plane that's infinite in all directions. And now the infinite dimensionless singularity is stretched out onto that plane. And every single point on this plane is the same infinite dimensionless singularity. So this point right here, it's the same as this here. If this is here, this is here. If this is now, this is now. If this is up, this is up. It's just every single point is the same infinite dimension. There's no difference between any point. Now, in order to imagine differences, I'm going to create orthogonality. Okay, so anything in this direction, I'm going to say is not this. Now that is what distinction is. So you had a plane of being, right? Where every single point of that being is the exact same place, whatever. There's really no place or anything. It's all the same infinite potential. There's nowhere with any difference. Now I'm going to imagine differences. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to say anything in this direction is in the real direction, and anything that is not real is in this imaginary direction. So now I've got distinction. I can know that this is not that. So on this plane, I've got the real direction is this, and what is this made out of? Well, there's only knowing here in this whole plane. So it's made of knowing that it's not that. So this orthogonality, this 90 degrees, this is what a concept is. All concepts are made of knowing these distinctions, these opposites. What's really there? Well, it's all just an infinite, this is really infinite potential. This is really infinite potential. I'm just playing a little game saying that, hey, like you could have a little sand in a sandbox. So we're just going to model this on a plane, and the axes are infinite. Now, on that plane, a specific concept will have a vector. There'll be an arrow on this plane. Could be, you know, in any sort of angle at any length. And each arrow is going to have a specific length and a specific angle from the origin, right? So this one has a particular leg and a particular height. Okay, so this one concept would have a particular magnitude and phase angle. So again, this is logic. Logos, leg, ratio, word. The divine word is the logos, right?
Okay.
Logos is a leg, or is reason, rationality, logic.
Okay.
This is the activity of God.
So are you saying
In the beginning was the word, right? The logos, the logic.
Okay.
This is how it is, right? So it's this activity of knowing distinction, the illusion of this. It appears as distinction, but when you really look into what's there, it's just made out of knowing. So there is no actual distinction. Distinctions are conceptual. They're made out of knowing these opposites. Since this whole concept structure is infinite, and I won't even see it. It's totally transparent. Can't see anything. You can't see a concept. Concepts are completely transparent to you. When I'm talking about this concept, what you're doing is you're interfering concepts together and then being able to say real versus imaginary.
Yeah.
You would not understand me if I say, oh, this is real imaginary. This is real imaginary. What? You would not understand me if I say up, down. Yes. You can't understand those. They're superpositions. You can't understand a superposition because it's not graspable. In order to understand content, you have to interfere. The interference makes the illusion of objects. Now I can see, I can grasp it. There's an edge to it now. Now there's not transparency there anymore. There's an edge. So that's what's going on. Okay. So to even be able to talk about this, I have to ignore this, interfere things together to be able to even language it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've answered your questions or got into even more confusion, but.
So I will try, so concepts in my mind here. So I think, okay, I think I am a human being sat here. So many other concepts are interfering with this one.
Yeah, so just remember, if it has an edge or it's finite, that's interference. So thoughts are not concepts.
What's the difference?
They're made of them. So like, let's have a concept of thought not equals thought. Thought not equals thought, that's a concept. Okay. Now I'm gonna have black not equals black. So I interfere thought not equals thought with black not equals black. And I got the thought that this is black.
Wait, wait, hang on a minute. Wait, please talk me through that slowly.
Okay, so a thought is interference. The thought black has a beginning and an end.
Yes.
If I'm thinking the thought black, prior to that thought, there was no blackness there. The thought hits and it begins with black, and then after that thought black is done, it's it. You're not thinking black anymore. Thinking the thought black, and then now that thought is ended. So it has edges. It has the illusion of edges. There's a beginning and an end. There's a boundary. You didn't wake up this morning thinking the thought black, did you? No. So it had to start at some time.
Yeah.
An hour from now, you won't even be thinking about black. Okay, well, it had to end. Sometime between when you woke up and tonight, it's going to end. So it's limited.
Yes.
Okay, so it's got boundaries to it. Okay, so thoughts are objects. They have, an object has a beginning and an end. It has a value. It's defined. Okay, concepts are not defined. They have no value. They're a superposition. So thought not equals thought. Is that a thought? See, thought not equals thought is a concept. It's not graspable.
Oh,
There's no edge to it. Where would thought not equals thought begin? How could you can't even think about it. What is black not equals black?
what is not equals? Could you please explain?
Okay, so let's have the concept 1 not equals 1, or 1 not in the set of 1. So 1, we'll interfere these concepts now. Now you can see a 1 here. There's a 1 there. I understand what a 1 is. This is a 1. Okay. So interfering concepts, and I know what a 1 is. Okay, what is a 1 made out of? Knowing that it's not equals. So a 1 is not a 2. A 1 is not a 3. A 1 is not a 4. A 1 is not a 5. A 1 is not a 6. A 1 is not a 7. A 1 is not 3.215. A 1 is not a tree. A 1 is not a dog. A 1 is not a... Okay, so a 1, I have a 1 over here. What is a 1 literally made of? It's literally made of knowing. It's not every other number.
Yeah.
It's 2 to every other number. Is that finite or infinite?
2 to every other number.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So I have a 1 here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's limited. Right? There's one thing here. There's there's a finger. Okay. Now, what is this made out of? How many fingers is this made of knowing that it's not? Let's have how many fingers could it not be? How many?
Infinite.
Okay,
Right.
so yes, you got it. So something that's infinite is not limited, right?
No. Yeah.
So there's no edge to it. So something that appears as a finite set of real potential here is made out of that knowing that it's not an infinite set of imaginary potential. So this 1 is literally made of knowing that it's not infinity. And this infinity is literally made of knowing that it's not 1. So this concept that's 1 not equals 1, or thought not equals thought, it's not limited. There's no limitation there because the substance of it is infinite. The building blocks of it are infinite. So it is infinite. There's no limit to it. That's why I can't know thought not equals thought. I don't know what that is. I can't grasp it. In order to grasp it, I have to create interference between concepts. And then I can pay attention to thought by ignoring the infinite. I ignore not thought to know what a thought is.
So I ignore the room to think of a zebra. I'm familiar with that experience.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, you are infinite consciousness. That's all that's here. Okay. Are you knowing that right now?
No.
Do you feel infinite?
No.
No, you don't. Okay, so what's happening? You're ignoring it. You're ignoring the infinite. Right?
Probably.
So anything that's infinite, you're ignoring. And you're paying attention to the interference of real potential. So you're paying attention to these. So you're paying attention to interference of the real potentials. And you're ignoring everything that's infinite. That's what's happening. So not the sets that are in this imaginary direction are all infinite sets, and they're transparent. They don't.
Like back there. Like that.
Yeah, they're transparent. You can't pay attention. It's even like right here. So this space,
Yeah.
that seems transparent and everything, yeah. The objects, like the hand, is real component interference, but the space, oh, it's transparent. I'm interfering this guy over here.
Could you explain that bit again? That's great. So,
Okay, so here's my concept of object, not object. Object, not object. Can you grasp that? No. Right. Can't understand it. It's superposition. Grab that object, not object. What the heck do you want me to grab? The object or not the object? I don't know, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So now there's a finger object in the screen of view. So there's an object, right? But this is object, not object. This appearance of this finger can't be just this concept. I need multiple concepts. Now I'm going to have finger, not finger. Okay. Multiply them together, and I can pay attention. If I'm paying attention to these two, I'm multiplying a finger times an object. So I got a finger object there. I can pay attention to it. I'm seeing it. It's got a beginning and an end. It's got the illusion of an edge, right? You can see it. Now the space, I've got object, not object, right? I'm going to pay attention to an object. So I'm going to pay attention to this real component. But I'm going to pay attention now, instead of object down here, I'm going to pay our finger, I'm going to pay attention to not finger. So now I'm going to not finger, I'm going to rotate that, multiply them together. So not finger is this blank. I'm paying attention to the blank. Okay, so now consciousness can do this all simultaneously with all concepts. So it can simultaneously pay attention to, it knows where the finger object is, and it knows where the blank is. It's interfering and then creating these illusions here. So consciousness is knowing every concept simultaneously. And the concept of Seth not equal Seth is then limiting consciousness to that perspective. So it's limitations upon limitations upon limitations upon limitations. And now I have a perspective that is limited from knowing David's point of view, from my cat's point of view, from my aunt's point of view. Consciousness is knowing all these point of views, limiting them from each other so that they think they're separate.
Wow.
But when one of these points of views, when one of them walks around this mind here.
I've got a great metaphor. Check this metaphor out. You know, you said the mountains, it's like when we come back down to the mountains, we're on the same ground. It's the same level.
Yes. Yes. What's building your what is building your mountains of beliefs? What are those beliefs made out of?
Is it thoughts or concepts? Concepts?
Concepts. What are concepts made out of?
Thought?
Knowing.
Knowing.
So the mountains that you thought you were sitting on really was all down here in the first place. There was no actual mountain. You thought they were mountains of beliefs. When you look into it, you're like, oh, there was no mountain of belief here at all. This was all BS. I made it all up.
That's refreshing.
And the making up of it was what I am. It's knowing. Oh my God, the whole story of human beings on a planet and everything, and I was alive. Not only was that like this little imagination, but that imagination is what I am. I am this being, and I was just looking at myself really closely while ignoring other parts of myself.
Yes, yes.
So that's what's really here. It's knowing. And you're right. As you dissolve your, like, we all go to the same place. No place.
Of Eden.
We go to the dimensionless singularity.
It was snowy up there.
Yeah, which again, this is this thing I'm talking about. Once you get on the other side of this and you're like, oh, okay, it's all infinite dimensionless singularity. It's all consciousness. And I'm using an infinite dimensionless singularity from physics because I think that's a good word that describes this. There's no way to describe it. You get into physics, got an infinite dimensionless singularity, there's no way to describe that. possibly. It's impossible. So I'm just saying that, but in experience, you're not going to hit an infinite dimensional scene. You hit a god of unbelievable. It's not like some textbook infinite dimensions. You hit God, like God, like
the power of God.
See why you're ignoring yourself.
The power of God.
It's
the power of God.
I
The power of God.
I can't even. It's not like any of this right now. I'm playing around here to take our physics to the next level. Like, don't you want to do cool things? Like, don't you want to have aliens? Like, you want to you want to do these things. This would be cool. Like, you want to take humanity past its limitations of the physical. Like, this would be amazing. Maybe it would be terrible. Maybe it's going to be a horrible mistake. I don't know. Got to go into it. Maybe we really doing this really screws everything up. I would be very sorry about that. But I don't know. I'm limited. Seth is limited. He can't know. And then the other cool part of this is that not only we're trying to take physics to a new level to create, cool new toys and experiences here, but on the other side of it is once people realize they're not separate from each other, how can you harm yourself? How can you treat yourself terribly? Yeah. You can't. If I see everyone as me, there is no distinguishment there. There's only me. There's the illusion of diversity. There's no actual diversity. There are no actual races. There are no actual sexes. This is all imaginary. We're all the same being. We're all God here. That's it. That's all that's here. So this inquiry into our physics, into our beliefs of visual perception, this is it. This is the entire mystery of the universe. You discover it. Oh, it's consciousness. That's all that's here. We are this consciousness. It still remains a mystery because I can't know that consciousness as an object. It's not an object. That's why it appears mysterious. It appears as a mystery. It appears magical because you can't grasp it. It's infinite. You'll never grasp it. You'll never find it as an object. It's all the only being that's here. That's all that's here. And so you can't find it. You cannot use a knife and dissect it. It is the knifing. It's that which is cutting you into the illusion of these opposites. Consciousness knowing through the mind cannot understand that. You cannot get it. It's not an object. You'll never find it as an object. You are not an object. You are the knowing of objects. You are that which is creating the logic. You are the logos. You are the divine word. This is what you are. So it's weird. From a scientific background, my whole beliefs, like I still got the belief of atheism and the belief of physical material. Trust me, this sounds crazy. Test your beliefs. test these crazy statements. If you don't test them, if you judge them and say, he's crazy, well, then you're religious. If you do some logic and say he's crazy, well, then you're a philosopher. Great. But if you actually shine light on this thing and you don't get a known image that determines it, then you're a scientist. You're actually testing this. Oh, I don't get a known image. I'm not seeing undetermined objects by shining light on them. Okay, what does not seeing determined images, mediated perception, tell you when you know light has traversed that space-time volume? I am not seeing an image of a giraffe in front of me right now. I'm seeing not a giraffe in front of me right now. That tells me there's not exist a giraffe between me and the camera right now. I am not seeing a coffee cup between me and the camera right now. Thus, there is no coffee cup. I shine light on this. I am seeing not two slits. Seeing not a known image determines the existence of this object. That means this slit object doesn't exist. You got to test it. You got to test it. You got to understand what visual perception states, and then you've got to test it, and then you've got to, well, you find it, you will be like, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, 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 whoa. That means I don't exist.